Hey, everybody. It is March 4th, 2019. This is an offside trap. And
second one.
Yeah, second one.
The first one worked.
Yeah, first one worked somehow.
Everyone's surprised.
Yeah, and the greatest intro music ever made, as you guys heard. It's quite the fun time. I am Tim, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Mr. Kevin Bradley, across the way from me, drinking on some Sazerac.
That's it, man. New bottle, new day.
Who dis?
New season. New bottle, who dis?
Oh, no, new season starts this weekend.
It is finally the beginning of Atlanta United season.
And we...
something I'm sure our guests can relate to.
Yeah. And we welcome in Brad from Cincy Soccer Talk, because this coming Sunday down in Mercedes-Benz, we are welcoming FC Cincinnati for their second straight away game to start their MLS foray. Brad, how you doing tonight, man?
Good, Kevin, Tim, thanks for having me on. I know a lot of us up here in Cincinnati, we've been following the success of Atlanta from afar, and hopefully, I know you guys said you're looking forward to the start of the season, but hopefully we might be able to postpone it 1 week further.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, one of us is going to probably have to do a reset again.
Exactly.
Into the third week of the season. But obviously, storied franchise, right? You guys are coming in with, as a USL powerhouse team, breaking records, playing at University of Cincinnati Stadium. Is that correct? That was where you guys were breaking attendance records in USL. The run that you guys went on in the US Open Cup with, I believe, with Mitch Hildebrand, right?
Oh yeah. Mitch says no.
Yeah.
We're still trying to raise money for a statue up here after that one performance.
Everybody wants a statue now, man.
Right? I mean, RoboCop. Now we got Mitch Hildebrand,
David Beckham. I mean, just added to the list.
RoboCop deserves one more than anybody else in Detroit. But no, I mean, yeah. Thanks for joining us. I mean, you're coming off. I don't know. What were your thoughts? What were your feelings, kind of expectations going into this weekend against, a perennial powerhouse in Seattle, who was seemingly at full strength for the first time in God knows how long, since Jordan Morris went down. And
Jordan Morris was completely capable, to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, what were you guys thinking going into last weekend? What to you guys is success? I mean, from the opener, and then from a season standpoint as a whole.
Well, I'll start just looking at Saturday alone. Going into it, there were a lot of emotions. We spent 3 years trying to build this club. You mentioned the attendance records at Nippert Stadium, that Open Cup run. Last season, we won the 2018 USL Supporter Shield. But going in, there was a lot of emotions, a lot of excitement, a lot of nervousness, because, as you said it, we went on the road to play Seattle. Definitely one of the more vaunted places to play in the league, and to become a new organization. And there we have to go for the first week. Definitely a challenging environment. I think then you add to that some of our injuries. You mentioned, I believe, off air, Greg Garza, huge offseason acquisition for us. He's been out injured, has yet to appear in the orange and blue. We are still building our club. They mentioned today Kenny Saif is going to be coming. We've signed Kakuta Mane. We have just a couple players who've really yet to get involved in the team. So I think realistically, we thought it was going to be a long road to hoe, and it ended up with the 4-1 loss.
So you mentioned Greg Garza. Is there any expectation on when we may see him return to form and get back into rotation for you guys?
I'll tell you what, it's definitely one to keep an eye on. We went down to Charleston. I think you guys might have gone down there last year for the Charleston Challenge Cup.
We were. I think we would have gone down there, but we got tied up in this whole other tournament this season. I don't know if you've heard about it.
No, last season, but yes. Yeah, you're in a different CCL. But, actually a funny story is that we had some of our guys down there, and a couple of Atlanta fans drove up to that season to try to watch him. And unfortunately, we had to say that he has been out injured. So apparently this past week, he joined practice finally. I think that you might see him on the bench, but I think long-term, really, I think week 3, the home opener against Portland, is more of a realistic chance of seeing him. And, if I'm FC Cincinnati, I don't rush him. You guys had a tremendous, probably one of the best second seasons in the history of the league, set tremendous records. And I know he was out injured, but then he played through that playoff run. And then pretty much immediately went into the men's national team camp, got hurt. So I'm kind of treating this as a little bit of an off season for him, a little rest. We need him definitely towards this end of the year. And so unfortunately he's not going to play. I doubt he'll play this week, but I think going forward, we should see him here soon.
Yeah, and it's always much tougher whenever you have a guy that has like an extended layoff, and especially it's let's just face it, a little fragile. For as good as he is and as quality as he is on defense and offense, liability is not the right word, but he's going to miss some games, and you don't want to bring. I always feel like it's better to bring a guy back at home than it is to try and bring him on the road and worry about the stressors there and worry about the travel and all that. That's interesting. I had heard the rumors about Kenny Safet. That's going to be a big pickup. You guys are going to have kind of a clogged front line because, not to get too much into this, but I mean, between Fernando Adi, Darren Maddox, and then Lama, and then you bring in Kenny Safet. I mean, that's a lot of talent up front. I'm excited for the Cincinnati team.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah, I think one of the questions you asked me earlier is how do I feel about the long-term of success of this club and what is that success? And I still feel very strong about the chances of us pushing through the playoffs. We have just a difficult schedule to start off with, and like I said, we're still building this team. But as you said, there are a lot of pieces that can be attractive. You said Fernando Adi, he's got the start up top. We've got Roland Lamar, who spent some time down in Dallas last year. You've got Victor Oyua, who's a vet. And then you said you sprinkle in some of these other players, Kukuda Mana, Kenny Safet, which they're actually talking more of towards that 10 role than on the wing as we've seen him in the men's national team. So there's definitely some pieces for Alan Koch to work with. But unfortunately, this weekend, I don't think you're going to see that in Atlanta. I think you'll see a completely different team when you guys make the travel north in September.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's good because going into it's a long season. It's a long road. Like you said, it's a long road to home. But
yeah, it's a long season, but ultimately the games are played week to week and we can't get too far ahead. And all we have to go off of, unfortunately, right now is that first opening game. Yeah. So looking at that game, looking at this lineup as it stands currently, assuming that Garza probably isn't in that lineup where I personally thought that Cincinnati was probably most vulnerable against Jordan Morris was on that right side or the left back position. What player or position, what skill set puts Cincinnati in the best position to win going into the game against Atlanta? And who do you think is the biggest liability for Cincinnati going forward?
Well, I'll tell you, we got a big shock about an hour before the match because we had played a 3-4-3 in all 7 preseason matches. Then all of a sudden we rolled out a 4-2-3-1 in the opening game of the season. And we found out, due to some of these injuries, like I mentioned, Greg Garza is out. Our backup left back, Justin Hoyt, was out. Coach Koch had to make that transition on Monday to the 4-2-3-1. So I think within that change and such a short change, so you've got a new club, a new formation that you've barely learned in a week together, you saw a lot of holes in the line. So I wouldn't even necessarily nail it down to one player's liability. I would just more think the liability is how will FC Cincinnati build upon that first week and how their chemistry will work, because you saw a lot of issues in spacing, a lot of positional self-discipline was lacking. You saw Alvis Powell getting up the field and completely not having any cover for the rest of the back line. Alvis Powell is our right back, played in Portland a long time. You saw that in the midfield, the relationship between Leonardo Bertoni and Victor Oyua was lacking. Sometimes they both went forward and they again left the back line exposed, and that was really critical against Jordan Morris. That's really how he scored both of his goals, is that you were left with 2 center backs there. So I think that it's how Alan Koch, if he chooses to go with that 4-2-3-1, how he's able to work with some of those relationships, how he's able to organize, because really there was just such a lack of organization. I think that was, kind of a pretty uniform take among all the different organizations up there. But if they are going to win, they've shown that they can score this preseason. You mentioned the firepower. This week, I think we have Fernando Adi available, Roland Lamar. You mentioned Darren Maddox. I think he'll probably get the start over Eric Alexander because he just was he had a rough night, and I don't necessarily put that on him. I put that on he was put in a position not to succeed with him and having to cover for Alvis Powell. But I think you put Darren Maddox in there, Kakuta Manaz 1 more week healthy. I think that if FC Cincinnati is going to win, it's going to be on those guys up front being able to hit you guys in the counter, because I think we've shown without Safet and building these relationships, we're going to have a tough time holding on to the ball, especially how quality you guys are already in that. I think it's going to be a tough challenge, but if somebody's going to break through, it might be a wonder goal like we saw this week, or an individual moment of brilliance by one of those guys.
Hats off for one of the best team opening goal, like for a first goal for a team. I mean, that you couldn't ask for much better.
Yeah, we celebrate that scrappy finish that Yamil Assad had, and then Bertone goes and just rockets one from outside the 18 off of a rebound. I was like, damn.
I mean, I was at one of our supporters groups watch parties, and the place just erupted. I think the first 15 minutes it was completely against the run of play. We were getting just walloped. I mean, we did the whole match, but that was a special moment. I think that kind of relaxed some FC Cincinnati fans. Showed us that we could do this. I think that was a big worry. We heard about how our roster build was faulty, and so I think that put a lot of doubt in some of our minds. But it was just a great moment. I think something we're all going to remember. And I'm just glad it wasn't like an own goal or a tap in. This is something that we'll put on the screen at Nippert Stadium the next couple of years, and then when we get into our own stadium, that'll just light all the fans up.
And when is your new stadium scheduled to open, by the way?
So we're shooting for the 2021 season.
Gotcha.
We have a contract to play at Nippert the next 2 seasons, which presents some financial challenges, but overall it's a tremendous place to play. I know you guys played in a college stadium over Georgia Tech, and you saw what that did to your guys' fan base.
Yeah, and it's a really intimate environment there too.
It's built a lot like, I feel like the stands in college football stadiums, the way that they're built, are a lot like some of the South American soccer stadiums are. And it's I love how I miss the sightlines of Bobby Dodd. But to that point, I mean, how much have you guys had to deal with so far shtick from the likes of the Orlando City fans about playing in a football stadium or not, you guys being plastic and all that?
I'll tell you, we definitely get we haven't heard too much from the MLS crowd on that. We definitely heard a lot more in USL. People would say you bought your attendance or tickets are cheap or whatnot, but
we're not deep enough on Twitter. Apparently, you need to go deep, man. You need to get in the trenches.
I guess we've been worried about talking smack to the Louisvilles of the world for the last 3 years, but we were actually ones dealing out smack, because in half the teams it felt like in the USL were playing on baseball fields and not Yankee Stadium. We're talking about.
I was going to say some still do.
Yeah, but at Louisville Slugger they would put AstroTurf directly over the infield. So we played a game there last year, and the ball literally would just hit and stop due to the rain on that turf.
Yeah,
so different challenges.
We went and played against Nashville in their first ever game up in Nashville at their baseball stadium, or their minor league baseball stadium, in the rain. And it was just, the drainage is not built for that.
I still can't wait for them to join the league and to be able to have that commute. That's going to be great.
Yes, I'm excited for that fan base.
Because how far is Cincy from Nashville? That would probably be the closest.
3.5 hours.
Yeah,
maybe a little more.
Not bad at all.
We're pretty. I mean, outside of Columbus, obviously, which is a little over an hour and a half north.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I think as far as like a sexy destination to go to for away games, that would be our closest. Because who wants to go to Bridgeview in Chicago? And
nobody wants to do that. It's not like you're going downtown or going and playing near Grant Park or anything.
Yeah, I mean, Crew Stadium just sucks.
So, so speaking of traveling, we make our way back up there in September, right? Is whenever we play you guys in Cincinnati. What are some of the things that people that may be going to the game can look forward to, things to do leading up to the match? What are some of the pregame traditions and history that have carried over and that continue to build in your MLS?
Yeah. So like we've spent 3 years at Nippert Stadium, and like I said, it's a great environment. Unlike some of the venues out there, it's right in the middle of the college campus, but there are so many bars and unique areas around there. And I think that's been one of the reasons why FC Cincinnati has been so successful so far, is people for a 7:30 game on a Saturday night, they get down there 2:30, 3 o'clock and go the whole time leading up to the match. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different where most of your pre-gaming goes on actually in the bars and restaurants. There are so many of them, and there's not a ton of like just flat parking lots out there. But the city of Cincinnati as a whole has just gone under a tremendous renaissance. And actually, I think it would be a pretty cool place for Atlanta fans to travel up. September, it's going to be a beautiful time of year. It's not going to be too hot. Over the Rhine, which is pretty much right where we're building the stadium. It's in the West End, but it's very similar. It's going to be a very similar setup to how Nippert is, where you've got a lot of bars, a lot of urban, just amazing characteristic settings, bars, restaurants, areas to go and see. So I would definitely try to stay in that area just north of downtown. And then you've got a 5-minute Uber to Nippert Stadium. So there's a lot to do. You guys, if you're coming up, you definitely have to try our Skyline chili. It is a unique experience. Do a little bit of spaghetti, a little bit of chili, a little bit of cheese. If you're feeling a little dangerous, put a little onion and black beans on there.
That hits close to home. I did a spaghetti grilled cheese last night for dinner, so I'm on board.
My dad's all about Skyline chili. My family's from Fort Wayne. So
yeah,
I was gonna say we can go bunk up with some of my family. I think it's like an hour and a half, 2-hour drive from Cincinnati to Fort Wayne.
Yeah, a little bit further than that, but yeah, not too bad.
All right. So speaking of which, where your family's from, who's your rainy day team? If you're not cheering on Cincinnati, who else do you pull for? What other sport? What other team? What other league? What are you watching whenever you're not watching FC Cincinnati?
Yeah, it would either be Tottenham for EPL. But I grew up, went in Ohio, went to Ohio State. If I'm not watching soccer, pretty much everything is glued to the Ohio State University.
Well, you'll be happy to know I am a Clemson fan. So,
oh, geez. My best friend's wife's a Clemson fan, and when they beat us a couple years ago, she slapped a magnetic Clemson Tiger paw print on the opposite side of my car from my driver's side. So I drove around for like 4 days with the Clemson Tiger before I noticed it.
That sounds like some shit Kevin would pull.
Yeah, well, you gotta make sure you flex a little bit from time to time.
I already felt bad enough buying this house from a former Clemson grad.
Look, man, look at how great it's turned out.
Yeah, it's true.
You're welcome. All right, last question before we let you go. Score prediction for Sunday. What are you thinking?
Ooh, I know you guys didn't score this past week, but
we played 2 games this past week. So which one are you talking about?
Yeah,
really?
We're gonna go with the DC game. Yeah, like I said to you guys before, this is not going to be the team you're going to play in September. This isn't even going to be the team that I think FC Cincinnati is going to trot out in 3 weeks. There's just been so much that's happened on and off the pitch that there's going to be changes that need to be made. Last week was clearly not good enough. So I think that Alan Koch is going to have to shift his formation, kind of bunker it down a little bit more. If he doesn't, I think it's going to be a big score, like a 4 or 5-1. But I think he's going to learn. He's not going to want to get embarrassed again on national TV. I think it'll probably be something like 2-0 Atlanta.
Wow. I didn't expect it, but I will respect it even though I didn't expect it, I guess I should say. We're getting ready to open up our thoughts, but I hope for the win, but I don't know if it's going to be necessarily a blowout. I think there's a lot of question marks for this Atlanta team.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier new system, new players, all that stuff. You're probably not tapped into Atlanta United Twitter, but it's been sky is falling. But again, new players in our system, new system. Yeah. Just getting acclimated. So I feel your pain.
It is going to be a tough road test for Cincinnati. It'll be a great game either way. And thanks so much for coming on and hanging out with us a little bit of your night tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I know a lot of our supporters are excited to come down. I actually think they sold out their allotment of away supporting tickets in like a week or something like that. So there should be a lot of orange and blue in Atlanta, and just be gentle. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I cannot. You cannot hate anyone wearing those kits. If I had to pick another kit to wear besides Five Stripes, it'd be you guys because they are amazing. And I don't know of anybody that's really been trash talked or shunned away aside from Orlando City fans in Atlanta. So be sure to come out to the Gulch and link up with some supporters groups and we'll show you a good time.
Yeah, I was going to say that's wear that as a badge of honor that you guys sold out your allotment, because there are a lot of historic teams, meaning like Chicago and DC and a lot of the older teams that you see maybe 20 people show up or 20, 30 people in the crowd and at least in the away section. And it's kind of sad. It'll be awesome to see you guys, because my seats are pretty close to that. You guys are definitely within hearing range for me.
Yeah. All right. Score predictions for you. I'm going to go ahead and say it 31-0.
Because Clemson against Ohio State.
Get it? Got it?
Oh yeah. It's been a while and it still hurts.
Thanks so much. So where can the people find you at? Where can they find Cincy Soccer Talk at? All the plugs, all the things. Where can they find
Get all your stuff in, Brad.
Right, like you guys do. We stream live on Facebook, YouTube, pretty much every vehicle out there. Live on Monday nights. You can find us on YouTube, Cincy Soccer Talk, Facebook as well. Twitter, Cincy Soccer Talk, CincySoccerTalk.com. Put a lot of great content out there. Got a huge staff of about 11, 12 people now. So we're just pushing out stuff every day. You can reach me at Bradley S. Weigel on Twitter. But yeah, just appreciate you guys having me on. Looking forward to a great, hopefully a fun match and a great relationship going forward. Because when they join next year, we can both hate on Nashville.
Absolutely, man.
Well, I dig it.
Thanks so much, Brad.
Thanks, Brad. Have a good night, man.
Thanks, guys. Take care.